Although I'm kind of surprised it's a little firmer over here than it is at the house. Yeah, it's kind of soft. But anyway, this is what I use. This is my homemade probe because I was too cheap to spend the money to buy an actual real one. Although this one's a lot stouter than anything you could buy on the market, because this is made out of Schedule 80 seamless pipe. So you can beat the dog shit out of this with a sledgehammer, you're not going to bend it. Last time I did a soil sampling video, somebody asked me why the hell I didn't make it taller. Well, I didn't make it taller because I didn't want some 4-foot long dork that I had to lug around in a bucket on a four-wheeler. This one's plenty big. I need to turn my idle down on this thing just a little bit. So, when you're soil sampling, yeah, I'm gonna screw with this thing. Okay, sorry about that. That damn thing hadn't run in like 4 months, so I had to play with it to get it running again, and had to play with the carb, and I just got to get it set back where it was. But anyway, when you're soil sampling, there's multiple ways to do it. You can grid sample, you can sample by zone. I don't do either one of those because none of my fields are big enough to bother with. So I just go field by field, one sample each. You can also sample by topography, but normally when you do it that way, you're sampling by different soil type anyway, because your soil type's going to change. If, well, like here on top of the hill is going to be different than down there at the bottom of the hill. So, like I say, I don't do either one of those ways. If you do it by grid, you can 1 acre, 2.5 acres, pretty standard. You can go 3, 4, basically. As long as your sample doesn't, the recommendation is that a single sample doesn't represent more than 20 acres. So, and I don't have a single field over 20 acres, and frankly, if I have more than 2 soil types in a field, I'm doing good, so it's really just not worth pulling multiple samples for one field. Plus, I couldn't take advantage of it anyway, because really the only reason or only thing to make it, or only way to properly utilize pulling multiple samples per field is if you variable rate apply your fertilizer, or variable rate plant, which is a crock of shit, or multi-hybrid plant, which is also a crock of shit. But whatever the marketing people want to tell you, and whatever people want to believe, because I'm sure somebody's going to argue with me, but university results have shown that, well, university results have shown that your maximum population for, or your optimum population for corn is going to be between 32 and 34,000 in most cases. Not all cases, sometimes it's less, especially if you're on light ground that's dry most of the time. Your optimum population is going to be a lot lower than that. But by varying the population in a field by 2,000 plants per acre, that's not going to amount to squat, and it doesn't justify the cost. Doesn't justify the added cost of the planter. How they say them planters will pay for themselves, I have no clue. Because by the time you pay off a $250,000 planter, it's going to need to rebuild again, so it's never going to pay itself off. But that's just my uneducated theory on it. So anyway, back to the soil sampling. Like I say, pulling multiple samples for a field, you can only really take advantage of it if you're fertilizer. I have no way of doing that. It's stupid to pull more than one sample for me, because let's say I pull the sample over there and I pull the sample up here. Well, I have to spread that corner, then I have to get off, reset the spreader, come up here, spread this corner, get off, reset the spreader, go spread that corner. It's just easier to just straight rate it off of a single sample. And you can get it variable rate applied if you have like a co-op do it. Most co-ops don't have a variable rate spreader. where they can variable rate 2 products on at the same time because they have split hopper spreaders. Man, those are expensive, but damn, they're cool. And however, if you do that, generally you have to have a company pull the samples, or have a company pull samples that has the capability to also map the field, because you can't variable rate apply unless you got a field map to plug into the GPS that shows where you need to vary the rates at. And I'm not going to pay to have my fertilizer spread because my field is too spread out, and it'd just be a pain in the ass for the co-op. So, plus it's cheaper to spread it on your own. So anyway, that's my theory on it. Nobody said it's right. That's just how I do it. So, and obviously that's going to change here at some point. Now, technically here I'm going to be pulling 2 samples per field because that field is getting merged with this field. So this is going to be one 10-acre chunk, and I'm going to pull off of it, or pull a sample off of this 5.5, and then that 4, or 4.5. So technically this field will be getting 2 samples because it's going to be one field when it's all said and done. It's just going to be split by a waterway. So that's how things are going. And then when you're soil sampling, I've said it in the last video, but that was last year, so a lot of guys probably haven't seen that one yet. If you're no-tilling, you sample the top 4 inches, because when you're no-till, your nutrients get stratified in the top or in the topsoil. So the majority of your nutrients is going to be in about the top 4 inches, and then it gets less and less as it goes down. So when you're no-tilling, for fertilizer, you only need to sample the top 4 inches. If you're conventional till like I am, you no-till to the depth of your tillage up to 8 inches. So I try to plow about 10-12 inches deep, but I only need to sample 12 or 8 inches deep. And if you're soil sampling for lime, which I'm also doing this year because I need to get lime for lime, you always, no matter what you're doing, no-till or conventional till, you always sample 8 inches for lime and for pH, which is you're going to get your lime recommendation based off of. So that's that. And then when you pull a sample, you want to get at least 15 cores per sample. So like that was just 1 core I pulled there, and then I got to pull 14 more off this field at least. Normally what I do is, and obviously I'm not going to sample this right here because that's not going to get farmed except for where the bins are going to sit. So normally what I do is drive the field in a Z, but because of the way this thing's shaped, I'm going to run back, forth, and then I'll sample the other fields in a Z. Some guys, like when you're sampling on a grid, normally you don't drive the whole 2 acres. They'll pull like 5 samples in one spot, 5 samples in another spot, 5 samples in another spot. And what a lot of guys do that pull their own samples is they'll park their 4-wheeler or their side-by-side there, they'll get off, they'll throw their hat up in the air, let the wind take it, and wherever it lands, that's where they pull a sample. That way it is a truly random sample. Because you don't want to sample all the good, you don't want to pull all your cores from one good area of the field and then have the bad area of the field not get any samples pulled from it. But since I pull the whole field off of one thing, I don't really have to worry about that. So that covers that. What else? I think that's pretty much it. Soil sampling's really not that complicated. It's just a matter of getting out and doing it. If I think of anything while I'm doing this, I'll let you know. I'm actually going to go and grab my mount real quick, so I don't got to carry this thing around with me. So, be right back. spot in the field that you know is gonna be, hopefully the wind's not too bad here. If you got one spot in the field that you know is not, or that you know is gonna be completely 100% off the wall crazy on the numbers, don't take a sample from it. Which doesn't contradict the don't take all your samples from a good spot, don't take all your samples from a bad spot. Because, for instance, this right here, this is where we had the hole dug for the burn pile. So there's no guarantees that that's all topsoil. Most of it should be, but if I pull a core out of there, or multiple cores out of there, it is going to throw the numbers completely batshit crazy in down direction. So you don't want to do that. Technically, I should pull a 15 sample core from just that spot right there, but for the same reason that I'm only pulling one sample out of this field, it's just, without variable rate and fertilizer, it'd be stupid to pull one out of there because I'd literally have to set the spreader just to spread that little circle. So I'd have to basically drive one pass from right there to right there and then reset the spreader. Not really worth it, because I know even if I did it that way, that spot's probably not going to grow for shit for at least the first years. Probably at least the first 2 years, although once I get beans on it, it won't be too bad. It's getting corn this year just because the rotation worked out. So yeah, if you got a spot like that where you got a burn hole, or or if you had a spot where you had a lime pile dumped in the field, you don't want to pull a core out of that spot. It's going to throw your numbers off. Okay, one more thing I forgot. If you got a field next to a gravel road, especially a road that's got a limestone base on it, you shouldn't pull a sample within 40 feet of the road. And the reason is, cars driving up and down the road and have that dust cloud going over into the field, that'll settle, and especially your pH, that'll throw the number way off. Because that, well, obviously limestone is what we use to adjust pH, so it'll lower the pH. Within 40 feet is the generally accepted rule that you don't sample that distance from a gravel road. So, yeah. Now, I'm all done over here. So when you end up with a bucket of dirt about yay big, I'll show you what you do next. Okay, now, next step, I get real technical with. So, you want to make sure you got all them plugs mixed up real good. That way you don't just get a handful and you get a bunch of plugs from one spot in the field. So, there's actual machines made to do this, but they're expensive and normally only labs can afford them. So what I do, I take this here handy dandy paint mixer. Actually, I think this one might be a drywall mud mixer. Take that and a cordless drill. And you just go blender on it. You just gotta hang on to it real good. Damn Chuck. Poor old drill's getting whooped. Okay, so after doing that, you now have something that looks about like that, and you're good to go ahead and pull your sample out of it. Now that field is this one. I already got my, and this is why it's so important to make sure that you get a good representation of cores, is because your whole field sample is going to be represented your whole field sample is going to be represented by that little bit of soil. And actually overfill it just a little bit, because when you dry it down, it shrinks. But I send all my stuff to A&L Labs over in Fort Wayne. Last set of samples I sent over there without recommendations was like 8 something, I think. I think it's like 9 1/4 with, if you get recommendations, and 850 or something would get them without. And I get them without because I do all my own stuff on my computer. But yeah, that's basically how you do it. And then you just throw all that out. So that's one field done. Only like 6 or 7 more to go. So I will pull those other samples, and then I will show you what I do to dry them. Okay, this step is completely unnecessary because most labs are set up to dry samples before they grind them anyway, but I kind of feel like a dick if I don't dry them out here dry them out most of the way here first, because I kind of send them an extreme case since I pull my samples in the late winter, early fall, or in this case midwinter. So all I do is lay them out on paper towel, which is going to wick some of the moisture out naturally. And then we got this halogen work light, which I'm pretty sure are actually illegal now. Along with the incandescent light bulb, I'm pretty sure libtards have killed them, but these I can kind of understand because they're kind of a fire hazard. Obviously, if they put off enough heat, I could dry soil samples with it, but I don't actually know if you can see it through the camera or not. As you go this way, you can actually see the water evaporating off of the soil. Might be able to see it from that angle. It's getting pretty good now. But in an actual lab, they do this in an oven, but you could do it in a regular kitchen oven too. The thing is, you got to make sure you don't get it above 105 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise you'll cook the organic matter out of it, and that's kind of an important number to have. So, but obviously, if you don't want to dry or use the oven in the house, because if you do, I'm sure the woman of the house would greatly shorten your life expectancy if you got caught doing it, no matter how you tried to explain it. So eventually, one of these days when I get a farm shop, I'd like to buy a used oven specifically for doing this, and like heating bearings and stuff like that. But yeah, I just put one big piece of paper towel down and then 3 individual ones that fold up and make barriers so I don't get anything mixed together, and just let them sit here and bake. They dry it, especially doing it with or using the lamp like this, they dry out pretty quick because that thing puts off quite a bit of heat plus the light. So one thing, do not do this if you're gonna walk away from it and not be home, because I'm fire hazard. But yeah, that's basically it. All sciencey and stuff. Not really, we're kind of low tech here, but anyway, got more to pull, although I don't know if I'm going to do it today because I had to take my truck over to the shop to get work done, so we'll see. Oh, the other important thing to do is make sure you keep your, if you use Ziploc bags or brown paper bags, or like A&L will send you soil sample bags for free. All you got to do is order them, so that's what I did, but make sure you keep them laid out in the order of the sample so you don't get them mixed up. But anyway, I guess that does it for this one. We'll catch you all on the next one.